The New York Jets have brought in Rick Spielman permanently on a full-time basis to help fix this godforsaken mess. And we know a guy that's been working with him for quite some time. Plus, we're going to talk some draft. All that and more coming up right here on Boy Green Daily. Talking all things New York Jets. Let's roll.
I'm going to lose my gosh darn bananas. Boy Green Daily starts now. Zoinks!
I made it clear that my intention was to play, and my intention was to play for the New York Jets.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Paul Liston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your podcasts. Let's bring in a special guest, CBS's very own Ryan Wilson, covering NFL Draft. I mean, he's one of the best in the gosh darn business. So without further ado, let's bring him here on the show to get all the latest on Rick Spielman and some NFL draft action. Ryan, thanks for taking the time.
Hey, Paul, how you doing, man? You guys are, it sounds like, and Jets fans are historically a prickly bunch. This has been a resounding happy moment in recent Jets history, it feels like.
It's very much. I imagine it's weird because we're all excited. You're probably sad because you're losing your guy here. So it's a kind of one of those trades. I'm not sure if you're on the Lakers side or Mavericks side on how you feel about losing your Luka Doncic there and Rick Spielman. But I'll tell you this: we're pretty excited about it with everything he brings to the table. And starting there, you said it on Twitter when you made the announcement with your guys' farewell podcast. There on the show, and you mentioned it on the show as well that Jet fans should be ecstatic about now adding Rick Spielman to the team. Why is that?
First of all, he's a great person. Like there is no one, and I've been saying this, we worked together for more than 2 years, did 221 shows, went to Senior Bowls, Pro Days, Combines together, did draft covers together, and did the draft podcast. There's no one that I've ever worked with that has more integrity than Rick Spielman. The other thing is he made this clear pretty early on when he took the initial job with the Jets to help them find the coach and the Darren Muji,
right?
The GM, excuse me. A year ago when he worked with the Commanders, it was sort of a similar thing. He is not afraid to tell people in power they're wrong, and I think in some respects, Woody Johnson respected him for that. And Rick said the point in his journey where he doesn't need a job. So I think that's refreshing if you're accustomed to just the status quo, whether it was in Washington prior to Josh Harris, the owner, coming there, or whether it's Jets fans' frustrations with the Jets over the last however many years. Maybe even, I guess, it was Rex Ryan a happy time? I imagine it was.
Yeah, of course it was. Sure. Yeah.
But Rick is going to be, and he said this on the podcast yesterday, on Thursday, his final podcast with us. He said, "I'm just a sounding board for Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn. He's not interested at all in being in the middle of it." And I joke with him all the time. This, once November rolls around, we start seeing with teams that are losing, it starts becoming Game of Thrones. And his brother has the same role, a similar role in Detroit, where he's a sounding board to the president, and he works with Brad Holmes, the GM, and Dan Campbell, the head coach. He's in Detroit. Rick's going to be remote in Florida, but he'll fly up occasionally, it sounds like, to New York. So I think if you're a Jets fan, you have essentially a director of football operations, and that's one of the things Rick said he's going to be involved with early on. And he's going to be a sounding board to a first-time coach and a first-time GM, and he has no interest in being Littlefinger in Game of Thrones. So it's a win-win, win-win. It feels like.
It certainly does. Let me ask you, is it sort of surprising? Like, again, the initial job was, all right, we're going to help the Jets find a head coach. We're going to help them find a general manager. And then by the end of it, he helped in both of those areas. And then, hey, actually, Rick, you just want to hop on board yourself. Is it surprising that he ended up just taking basically a full-time role with the New York Jets after what was initially just supposed to be, at least on the surface, a part-time gig?
Yeah, a little bit, because we actually sort of a weird, odd couple we were, but we got along great. And I know he thoroughly enjoyed doing the podcast and all the stuff that we would do. And he was basically retired after the Vikings fired him back in 2022. And retired down in Florida, and his wife was not interested in relocating and sort of doing the NFL life anymore after he was in the league for over 30 years. So it was sort of surprising, but he said this on the podcast Thursday, and he mentioned to me prior to that, he had a different perspective of who Woody Johnson was after spending 2 months with him. I think initially he was like, okay, this is the Woody that we read the papers about or hear about on television or Twitter or wherever. But he had a different feeling about who Woody was, and he thinks he'll be someone that he can work with. And you know, he said, look, if you can change the Jets, you can do just about anything, because it's one thing to, it's one thing to be the GM of the Steelers. Anybody can do that. I mean, no disrespect Omar Khan, but there have been some stumbling blocks in New York recently. And I think Rick likes the challenge, and he's as competitive as ever. And his brother did the same thing with Detroit, right? They found a way to get the ownership pointed in the right direction, hire the right people, and everyone treated it as a team effort and not as you don't want it to be Trent Baalke in Jacksonville, because that's going to turn out like Trent Baalke in Jacksonville did. So I think Rick is very intrigued by the opportunity to turn this thing around. And I know he's a big Aaron Glenn fan. I know he's a big Darren Muji fan. So I think the Jets hit some home runs here the last few weeks or so, it feels like.
Well, we can only hope, Ryan. That's for sure. And speaking of home runs, you and Rick Spielman, 221 episodes, 802 days. You're revealing some of the statistics behind it of all the time that you guys spent together. And I knew Rick only from the vantage point of, I think, a lot of fans, as his role with as the general manager of the Vikings, seeing him in some of those draft videos of laughing at the Eagles after they took Justin Jefferson. And,
by the way,
they took
Paul,
Jalen Reagor.
He doesn't like to talk about that, because I would bring it up and he would get angry. He was laughing about something else, according to him. He was laughing because they got Justin Jefferson.
So someone got the edit, and now he gets forever connected.
He doesn't like to talk about it, but we know why he was laughing.
We do know why he was laughing, but again, so we just see mostly, at least from my perspective, this buttoned up, very serious guy in his Vikings role outside of that clip. That's all I knew him as. And then I see him at this end of what is ultimately your guys' farewell podcast. He's crying. He's getting emotional. He's talking about this special relationship between you two. So I'm kind of curious. You talked about how you guys have worked together for all that time, 221 episodes, 802 days. Last couple of years of doing this podcast together. How special is that relationship with you guys, of how you met ultimately and then doing this podcast together for a couple of years?
It was great, man. Like, it's one of those things you didn't know you needed in your life until you had it. And that's why I always say, people are put into your life for a reason. I'm sure when Rick said it on the podcast, I had no idea what a podcast was. He can barely use his phone now. So he was just eager to get into the media and try something different, something a little less pressure and required less hours of his day. He's fine with pressure, but a little more freedom to, play golf and pickleball and hang out with his family in Florida.
Sure.
But I think he jumped into it with both feet, and he wants to be good at it too. He's not just, sometimes you see athletes after their career go on television and you can tell they're sort of mailing it in. That wasn't Rick. Rick was very interested and being good at this. And from my perspective, I don't know what he got out of it, but what I got out of it was I got to hang out with someone who was in the league for 30 years and knew more than possibly anyone. And I used to joke with him towards the end there. I said, you're more powerful now that you're helping find these coaches for these teams that need coaches than you were when you were a general manager. Think about that. And he would just sort of laugh. He's a great guy. Like, I don't have one bad thing to say about him. He mispronounces everyone's names. Like, he doesn't know any players' names, and that's the worst thing you can say about him. But he is going to be very motivated in making the Jets, making Jets fans happy and making the Jets a winning team. And he will do everything in his power. And again, his power is just a sounding board. So if AG or Darren ask him something, or Woody ask him something, I guess he's going to tell them what they think, and then they'll go from there. But he's happy to help out in any way he can. but I think the fact that you have a no man in the room, especially with a first-year coach and a first-year GM, could be important. And the other thing he said, I think he said it on the podcast. This isn't news if he didn't say it on the podcast. He said AG has an edge to him, and I think that's probably what the Jets need as well in terms of getting everybody back on track and sort of focus on the job at hand, because it felt like it was coming apart at the seams last year, and for a lot of reasons. I mean, you fired everybody. It felt like as the season progressed, 1 week someone else got fired, but I think that's exactly the reset that the Jets need. I don't know. I know Ben Johnson's a sexy pick. We'll see how that works out, but I don't know if this could have gone any better. Were there Jets fans clamoring for other head coaching or GM candidates that maybe there
was early, head coach, I know there was early love for Vrabel, obviously, and then with how everything's set up, but no, outside of Vrabel, who had the, coach of the year and the proof, right? We haven't seen AG as an HC, but there was some early buzz, certainly for Vrabel. There's no question.
And the only thing, that's a good point. And Vrabel, he on paper, he's a home run, no doubt about it. He did a lot with Little Tennessee. Not knowing Mike Vrabel at all, I'll just say I don't know how his relationship would have been with a Rick Spielman, for example, or anyone as sort of the go-between. I don't know, and maybe it would have been fine, but it feels like Rick knows AG because they interviewed last year in Detroit because his brother working in Detroit, and I'm not sure how well he knew Darren Muji, but George Payton was his right-hand man for 20 years before George got the job as the GM in Denver. So I'm sure George had some good things to say about Darren before he got the Jets job. So it just feels like everything's coming into place. And, again, reasons for optimism finally.
Yeah, which, again, well received. Blessed be he, as far as I'm concerned. Again, we're speaking with Ryan Wilson here of CBS here on Boy Green Daily. Ryan, you've been at CBS for a long-ass time. There should be a word for such a thing, quite frankly, being there since 2011. And you said at the during the podcast with Rick, the farewell episode, that this was the greatest experience of your professional life. Getting to work with Rick these last couple of years. Just diving into a little bit more of that relationship. You've been at CBS for a long time. That's really saying something.
Yeah, and when I got there, I got there in 2011, so social media wasn't really a thing, and I was basically just aggregating NFL news, a blogger. That's what we did when we started there. I started covering the draft in 2018, so this is my 7th draft or whatever that number works out to be. And for an opportunity to work with someone like Rick, who has all that experience. And look, when we would travel, when we go to the Senior Bowl, when we go to the combines and pro days, he took me everywhere he went. He wasn't a guy like, I'll see you later. He would always introduce me to people.
That's cool.
And treat me as an equal, and I am incredibly grateful for that. And I think the people that he introduced me to said, "Oh, well, Rick clearly thinks this guy isn't a slappy, so maybe we can at least have a conversation with him." And I've met friends that way, and
that's awesome.
It's been a wild ride. The funny thing is, Paul, that I think, and while I hate losing Rick, I'm absolutely ecstatic for this opportunity for him and for Jets fans. I think my wife was more upset than I was. She goes, she literally said, "What are you going to do? Like, someone died." I said, "I can still talk to him." She goes, "Well, he was such a good influence on you. Like I was a derelict high school kid before I ran into Rick to set me on the street." Straight and narrow. But, man, it was great. We had a lot of fun, and it was a weird sort of, like I said, odd couple. You would never imagine that we would get along as well as we did, but we traveled everywhere together on these things, and I would drive, and he would tell me how to drive, and it was sort of drive Miss Daisy in some sense, but. I'd ask him anything. He'd tell you anything. You hear all sorts of crazy stories about the things he's seen and done. And, you couldn't ask for a better education as someone who's trying to understand how things work in the league. And at the end of the day, this isn't even about scouting players because, Rick made this point early on. He said, after 3 years, everyone should be able to scout someone. If not, you're in the wrong business. And I think that's about right. It took me about 3 or 4 years to sort of understand what I was looking at. But after that, everything's just relationships, right? Whether you're trying to talk to scouts or agents or whomever or players, or whether you're your colleagues, And that was a pretty valuable lesson that Rick taught me, because Rick, for as curmudgeonly as he can be, it's mostly an act. He's very good at talking to people. And I think that's part of the reason that Woody probably liked him so much, because while he didn't agree with everything Woody said, he's also a good dude. And you can see that. And those are the people you want to surround yourself with. And full circle, it's great that Woody wants to surround himself with people like Rick. So I think, again, reasons for Jets fans to celebrate days before the Super Bowl.
Yes, right, which is how we all sort of planned it, a year ago.
Right.
So celebrating, right before the Super Bowl here. And I'll just say that you mentioned earlier that he's a no man. And of course, what you're saying by that is we have all kinds of yes men that just say whatever it is and pass the biscuit around. We're not having those hard conversations. And you guys talked about that on the podcast. And that just sounds like the exact antidote that the New York Jets need. To have, even as a sounding board, again, he doesn't want to be making the decisions, and that's just Andy. Still, having that sounding board in the room for a Darren Mucci, who's 39, he's the third youngest general manager in the National Football League. He's never done that job before. Rick's obviously done it for a long time in a couple of different spots. That just feels like, that's why for Jet fans it seems so ecstatic on social media. It's for that very reason. They've made changes to the front office, and some of these guys in the front office have been there for 16 years. They've survived multiple GM tenures. So to have what appears to be Woody kind of loosening the reins and having this fresh start and being very open to this new power structure that's taken over, again, that's a really encouraging part. So that no man thing hits home, I think, for a lot of Jet fans.
What'd you say? Darren's 39. Is that what you said?
Yeah, 39. Yep, he's the third youngest. I think
I'll
the two are Barry and Ryan Poles.
I'll tell you a story. So we were driving pro day. We were driving from Ohio State, the CJ Stroud pro day, back to Cincinnati to fly down to see Bryce Young the next day. And I'm, it's a 2-hour drive. And the reason we flew into Cincinnati is because Rick could fly direct from Fort Myers. He didn't care about me having to change flights. But that's a conversation for another time. But I remember saying to him, I said, how much do you know now compared to what you knew? And I think Rick was in his early 40s when he got his first GM job with the Dolphins. How much difference is it? And he said, it is night and day. And the point is, and Rick said this on the podcast, he is very interested and he likes sharing the knowledge that he's acquired over the years to people that perhaps could use it. And Darren feels like someone that would be open to it. And there are probably a lot of things Darren doesn't know as a 39-year-old GM, first-time GM, that Rick didn't know when he started, when he was in the early 40s, and Rick can help him with that. And the other thing about the no man thing that you mentioned, Rick would, if I said something that he disagreed with, he would just say, no, I think that's stupid. Like, he would say it like that. And I didn't take it personally. I was like, all right, well, let's talk about it. Either I'm right or you're right. But, the point isn't to get mad. The point is to get to a solution. And usually we're talking about players. If I like someone or he likes someone more than I did, we would go back and forth. But I think that's important. And the more you're around people in the league, the more you realize that there's not a lot of time for beating around the bush. Usually it's, this is a good idea, or no, this is stupid. And I think that's, there's only so many hours in the day. And the more that you can do and not take it personally, the further you can get to accomplishing your goal. So again, I feel pretty good about this. We'll see. I mean, the Rick's Achilles heel, and he'll tell you this in Minnesota, was he couldn't get a quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater looked to be that guy, and he suffered that serious knee injury. So I think that for the Jets, you got to get a quarterback, whether that's Aaron Rodgers or someone else. And then after that, things get a little easier, it feels like.
Hey, look at Washington, right? Rick Spielman helps him hire Dan Quinn and company. Right. Yeah, this Jaden Daniels guy looks pretty good. Booyah! And he has the greatest rookie season we've ever seen. So, Rick, if you could just kind of copy and paste that, we'd appreciate that. I don't know who that guy is for the Jets. We've got a fellow upstate New Yorker here, so I'll have to get your thoughts on one Kyle McCord in a little bit.
Big Kyle McCord fan.
Oh, okay. That's good to hear. But the more pressing question, put aside Jets quarterback question, who the hell is the next podcast co-host?
Yeah,
we're going to be some auditions. What are you guys looking for?
We got to figure that out. I will say Rick has such an influence on that pod, and it's been such a positive outreach in the aftermath of the news. It's been nice to know that people enjoyed our relationship and enjoyed Rick's insights as well. Had several people reach out about being interested in it, which is also weird.
Oh, wow.
I didn't think so. We'll figure it out. We have some names that we're thinking about, and ultimately it won't be my decision because I'm not a bigwig, but hopefully I'll have some say in it. We'll see. It won't be a Rick Spielman, unfortunately.
Okay.
But hopefully we can find someone. Rick did say if the Jets win the Super Bowl next year, he'll be back because his job will be done.
Oh, wow. Okay. There you go.
2 birds, 1 stone, and maybe 12 months from now, Rick will be back in the fold.
Okay, so just make sure it's a short. I know you say you're not a big win, but make sure just a short-term deal for whoever the co-host is. Kind of let them know they're just keeping the seat warm.
Right.
You know,
That's
it's
the fine print at the bottom of the contract.
always got to double check that. That's an important piece of the puzzle. Again,
Right.
we have Ryan Wilson here from CBS here on the show, and not only talk about Rick Spielman, but you cover the NFL and the NFL draft for CBS, baby. And the Jets are we're always talking about the draft as a Jet fan. So let's talk about that Kyle McCord. Again, I'm a Syracuse guy. I've been here in town for like the last 17 years here in Syracuse. So it's been great being around here for a long time. Moved here around 2008 and here in Oswego and traveled to Syracuse for the radio show. And yeah, Kyle McCord, baby. A lot of Syracuse fans around here would love him. I know some Jet fans aren't as familiar with Kyle McCord's game, but he seems like a guy in this kind of draft, Ryan, that you kick the tires on. We could debate, I guess, where the draft stock is for the young man, but that seems like an intriguing roundhouse kick potentially for the New York Jets this offseason.
Yeah, the question is where he's going to get drafted. Probably best case day 2. I don't know if he goes into the second round, third, fourth feels about right for Kyle, but I'll say this. He transferred from Ohio State and was a completely different player in Syracuse. And I don't know if that was big fish in small pond syndrome or just another year of maturation. Because, we talked to Joe Burrow when he was coming out of LSU, and he said, I could do all the things I wanted to do at LSU that last year. Physically, I wasn't there at Ohio State, so I just needed time to mature. And I think Kyle has a similar trajectory. Now, he's not Joe Burrow. Maybe he ends up being Joe Burrow, but he does a lot of things well. And I talked to him at the Shrine Bowl, and he said, I was just a little bit more comfortable at Syracuse. It was a leap of faith because I didn't know what to expect. And they had a new coach in Fran Brown, as you know, and he turned that program around. And every one of his teammates that I talked to spoke glowingly of Kyle McCord. And again, here's a Rick story, and I mentioned on the podcast.
Okay. Yeah.
We were sitting to practice at Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl last Thursday, and Rick walked off, and he'd been talking to a longtime Colts GM, Bill Poling, for a while. And Bill Poling, seeing that Rick was gone, came and chit-chatted me up. So I talked to Bill Poling for 30 minutes, which is a wild
awesome.
Wild thing. We were talking about Kyle McCord, and I said, if you were at that Miami game, the last game of the regular season in Syracuse, and you didn't know anything about anything, you wouldn't know which quarterback we're supposed to be watching and goo and gaga over. And because Kyle went toe-to-toe with Cam Ward. Cam Ward played well, but so did Kyle. So I think he helped himself. And, Rick, I don't know if Rick's going to continue to do this, but he would do some consulting work for Ohio State and Alabama. So he'd go talk to those kids. And he had some tough conversations with Kyle McCord last year before he transferred. And he said Kyle, wasn't super pumped about hearing things he needed to do to get better, but he got better. And I think that's the bottom line. So is Kyle McCord a day one starter? Probably not. Is he a guy that can grow into a role and perhaps become a starter? Yeah, absolutely. But I think probably day 2, day 3 is where we're looking at him right now. But I would take him. I would take him late second, early third. Like I like Kyle a lot. I think he's a special dude, and showed a lot of progress last year, and showed the ability to play behind the offensive line that isn't great, which translates to the next level, no doubt about it. But we'll see. I told him, and I don't know if he took this the right way or not, but a year ago I was a big Spencer Rattler fan, and Spencer had his opportunity, didn't work out, but maybe that changes. But I told him he's my Spencer Rattler this year, so hopefully he can carry that torch and carry it a little further than Spencer did in year 1.
No doubt. And Ryan, here's my struggle. So the Jets pick at 42 in the second. That feels too rich for me for Kyle.
Yeah.
And then the third round pick is 92 because the Lions trade. They don't have their own third round pick, so it's late. That's 50 picks. A lot of bleep can happen over 50 picks. So either too early or too this. And I guess maybe ultimately it comes down to, if you love Kyle, you just take Kyle and you don't get cute picking your quarterback, I guess. But that's the thing for me is not, if the Jets pass on him at 42, I'm like, let's pray and do whatever voodoo rain dance we need for him to get potentially there to the back end of round 3 at 92. Because again, he's just, to your point, I agree with everything that you said. He's an intriguing guy that in a perfect scenario, he's sitting behind, whether it's Tyrod Taylor or Aaron Rodgers, whoever's coming back. We don't know what's going to happen there. But that's the ideal plan. And finally, maybe the Jets could try to develop a guy for once.
Yeah, and Rick will tell you, whatever your draft board is going into the draft, you don't change it. So if you have Kyle graded as a guy who goes late third round, you're going to take him in the 90s. You're not going to trade up to 60 to get him. So that's another thing that I'm sure Darren is quite familiar with that, working with George Payton, and I'm sure AG is familiar with that, working with Brad Holmes. And I'm guessing they'll come to that conclusion together. But you got to draft your board and you got to trust it. But again, we understand why people get antsy about quarterbacks, because you don't have a quarterback. You could have 21 Hall of Famers, and you're not going to win a Super Bowl.
Ryan, how did the live events change for you? So you cover the NFL, you cover the NFL draft, and you've already put out a mock draft. We'll talk about that. There's some interesting things in there. But how do you, wherever your rankings are from everything that you do normally remotely, if you're there in Central New York, versus you go to the Shrine Bowl, you go to the Senior Bowl, you get to talk to somebody. How does that affect your rankings? Is it dramatic if you see something, whether it's practice or a conversation or something for solidifying or potentially changing things in any of your rankings or thoughts?
It's not dramatic unless there's some serious off-field issues you didn't know about. But I love talking to these players, and I love seeing them in person to see what they look like. Cam Ward was thicker than I thought when I saw him in the Syracuse game. Kyle was taller than I thought he was going to be when I met him in person. He's 6'2.5", and that's good. That's I didn't know how tall he was going to be. So those things just give you little pieces to the puzzle that you can work with. And once you talk to a kid, you get a sense for who they are and you know how they operate and whether they're serious or not. But no huge swings unless, like I said, it's some red flag type stuff, which I don't remember the last time I came across that. Just more of more pieces to the puzzle as I try to figure out who this person is. And again, and this took me a long time to learn. Paul, nobody knows anything. It doesn't matter if you're the best NFL team at drafting players. If you're the Chiefs or the Eagles, you don't. I mean, Howie Roseman took Jalen Reagor before Justin Jefferson. You don't know, so you just got to go with your gut. And the other thing is you got to stick with what you think, because a lot of times, social media especially, there's this group think about players. And if you're not part of that group, then you're wrong. And then fans get angry at you when you're not part of that group, and fans haven't watched anything on Twitter and they're yelling and screaming about stuff. So what I found is that I just trust my eyes, and we'll go from there. I could be wrong. I could be right, but it doesn't make sense. I mean, you can hire anyone to follow whatever the latest Twitter trend is. So I've had to sort of wean myself off of that because it doesn't make you better at your job. So I do love going to see these guys in person, though. I think that's the best part of the job, just an opportunity to meet them or watch them throw, run, jump, block in person. So that's like Christmas is like every day now from now until the actual draft.
Yeah, this is our time of the year as Jet fans. And in your latest mock draft, Tet McMillan, the big, freaky wide receiver from Arizona, you have going to the Jets. And I love this line you have in your mock draft. Think Drake London, but a better athlete. And a lot of Jet fans, if we go back to that draft, were drooling over Drake London instead of Garrett Wilson. Oh. There's a lot of debate coming up in there. And then when Drake went first, we're like, whoa, okay, I guess it's Garrett Wilson time. And that ultimately is what happens here. So Tet McMillan to the Jets, that's fascinating. And I love that, again, note, Drake London, but a better athlete. Man, Tet McMillan, Jets, I like it. Give us a thought process, Ryan.
Yeah, and I stole that line from a scout I was talking to over the summer about Tet, because I loved him when I watched him over the summer. Like, this guy is freaky. And, you tell me, I don't think offensive line is necessarily a need. I know they had some old timers.
Right tackle, I guess, if you don't bring back Morgan. But again, from what Connor Rogers was saying down there at Super Bowl Radio Row, he thinks any tackle that would be there at 7 would be a reach. So it seems like there's varying opinions on the O-line.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Will Campbell and then Kelvin Banks Jr. are going to have a chance to be top 15-ish picks. But both play left tackle, so that's a consideration. Ted McMillan's a come in start right away guy. Now you got to figure out the quarterback things. I keep saying. I think the other skill positions are okay, and then defensively, maybe they can get back to where they were a few years ago. Maybe you tell me. Jermaine Johnson's coming back. Do they need any help in the defensive line, interior defensive line?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Jermaine Johnson's coming off the torn Achilles, so it's all what the Jets believe we're getting from Jermaine Johnson there. The interior defensive line, and that's where I'll get with you with another guy that you have very high in your mock draft. Quinnen Williams is great, but the rest of that interior has been disgusting. I mean, Likey, Fotu, Javon, Kidla, and Michael Clemens. It was a disaster with anyone not named Quinnen on the interior of that defensive line. So, yeah, that was a big issue for the green and white this past season.
Okay. Yeah, in that case, the great thing about this draft class, whether it's in the 40s or in the 90s, you can get a defensive lineman that can help you right away. This class, people are whinging about the quarterbacks not being very good, and fair enough. It's not like last year's group. But on the defensive side of the ball, there are some dudes that go on for days. So if you want a defensive lineman, whether it's in the first, second, or third round, you're going to have your pick of the litter. So that should be an exciting proposition for Jets fans, if that's where your focus is.
Ryan, I love that you have conviction. You've talked about this on the podcast. You talked about it even a little bit here versus Twitter trends and things of that nature. If you feel something, you're just going to do it because you're Ryan Gastard Welton, for God's sake. And in the mock, I almost spit out my drink. I was like, Mason Graham, number 2 overall. That's a guy Jet fans love. We were talking about it earlier, of potentially pairing up with Quinnen Williams. And I saw the comp in there, a little Quinnen Williams action.
Yeah.
I remember that guy. So Mason Graham, let me start off here. Is there any chance in this God green earth that he is available at 7 for the Jets, or is that simply a pipe dream?
No, absolutely. And, that actually did that mock hours before Myles Garrett decided he wasn't going to be a member of the Cleveland Browns. So Abdul Carter could be a choice there at number 2, which would make some sense. He had edge rusher out of Penn State. Mason Graham's special. We'll see how long his arms are because we have to have that conversation. I would just invite you to watch Mason Graham play, and you will not care how long his arms are because he is explosive on the interior. But if you had Mason Graham next to Quinnen Williams, next to all those edge rushers, that is a recipe for excitement with Aaron Glenn dialing up the plays. Although, is AG calling plays? They maybe said he wasn't.
He will not be. He is passing that stick. Steve Wilkes will be calling.
Okay, that's
plays.
right. Steve Wilkes. That's right. Yeah. So, and we know Steve Wilkes likes to play aggressively as well. But whoever is dialing up the plays, that is intriguing. But I'll throw some other names out at you.
Yeah, please.
Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss.
He's
sub 300, maybe right around 300. He might be quicker than Mason Graham. Deion Walker had a substandard year at Kentucky. He is probably 2 Quinnen Williams. That's how big he is, but he moves like a Quinnen Williams, which is even freakier. I think he's probably a little banged up, and I think that explains why his 2024 wasn't as good as his 2023. He could be there in the second round. CJ West out of Indiana was at the Shrine Bowl. He is, to quote Rick, a rolling ball of butcher knives.
I love that.
Yeah, Derek Harmon out of Oregon. I mean, there's so many guys. TJ Sanders out of South Carolina.
Here's another name, a Jet fan. It throws us out like every week. He's shout out to Ricky New York out there in the audience. He it's Tyleek Williams, the Ohio State kid.
Rick loves
Where are you at on him?
Yeah, Rick loves Tyleek. He knows him well from his time together at Ohio State. He could be a bottom of round 1, round 2 guy.
Okay.
You could draw any name out of a hat out of about 20 guys and be extremely excited with what you get. So even if Mason Graham is gone, that's nothing to worry about. If Ted McMillan's gone, okay, you could be a little concerned if who's going to be the next sort of big, freaky playmaker wide receiver. He's probably not in this class, but there are a lot of freakish athletes on the interior for defensive linemen if that's what you're looking for.
Well, Ryan, it was awesome having you here on the show. The last thing I just want to get to here, Ryan, and it's seems like have you enjoyed your time at CBS? Do you like being there?
Yeah, I love it.
Here's my only problem, Ryan, and I love you. You're a great guy. It seems like Rick Spielman loves you, but I noticed you joined CBS in June of 2011. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
That's coincided with the entire Jets playoff draft. So I don't know if there's a connection, but maybe you would just want to join another job to see maybe if it mixes it up. I'm not sure, or you just trust Rick is going to fix everything. So I just noticed that, and like the Jets haven't been to the playoffs since the year 2011. It was a couple months before that, and then as soon as you got to CBS, we've been kind of stuck in this funk. So it's hard for me to just say it's all your fault, but I mean,
well, I am a Steelers fan, and I think the last time was that the last time the Jets lost the playoffs?
That was. Thank you for bringing that up.
Because they beat Mark Sanchez beat the Steelers in the regular season, maybe 2010 his rookie season, or 2009, whichever his rookie season was.
Yeah,
and then they came back and beat him in the playoffs. So yeah.
Oh wow! So it's double your fault. Oh, that makes me feel even better about it now. Quite frankly, now that I said that,
the Jets, although typically the Jets beat the Steelers in the regular season, so there's that.
Yeah, so that's something to put in the back pocket, but I love it. Anywho, but Ryan, in all seriousness, I've really enjoyed you coming on the show again. A lot of Jet fans are excited for your former podcast co-host there.
Yeah, should be.
Rick Spielman, which has been a great time. Thanks for all your coverage with the NFL and the NFL Draft. Free plugs. Anything cooking? You got up this offseason? What you got going on with all your NFL Draft coverage?
Yeah, just with the first pick, the podcast that I formerly did with Rick, and then we'll have some guys on in the coming weeks and months before we settle on what's going to happen. I don't even know yet, but you can check that out wherever you get your podcast.
Beautiful. Ryan Wilson, CBS. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll take a time out, and we got more coming up right here on the show. Thanks, everybody.
Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. Talking just football, man. Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. The New York Jets Football Club. Wow. Offense, defense, special teams. Watch the Super Bowl season with Boy Green. J-E-T-S. Jets. Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. You're talking Jets football, man. Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. The New York.
All right, apologies, everybody, for the technical difficulties during that conversation with Ryan Wilson of CBS. My apologies. Not sure what was happening there. Sorry, tried to power through, thought it would fix itself. We'll try to edit that in post, and we'll try to upload that interview separately. Corrected in a corrected version in the video files on YouTube. So again, apologies for that and the struggles that were going on there. We'll stay on and answer a few phone calls and conversations about anything New York Jets, baby. The phone lines are now open. That is youtube.com/boygreen25. Shadow, we got a couple hundred people in the room. We appreciate it. So like the video, hit subscribe, baby, and feel free to hop on the show. I would just say a lot of interesting things there. Obviously, Ryan Wilson spent a ton of time with Rick Spielman. Well, what is it? I have the numbers here. It's like, let me see. What do we got here? 221 episodes together, 802 days, I guess, in time is how long they were doing that show together, that with the First Pick podcast for CBS. So Rick Spielman, now a full-time member of the Jets. He'll be working remotely. You heard it there from Ryan. It's going to be Rick Spielman lives in Florida, so he will be remote for a large part of his job. He said that was Rick said on the podcast it was very important to him. So he's going to do all the tentpole events like NFL Combine and Pro Days and things of that nature. And also he'll be flying into the facility a handful of times. For instance, he's supposed to be, I believe, Saturday, so Sunday, Monday. I believe he's flying in on Monday after the Super Bowl for all kinds of staff meetings and stuff. So it should work out from that as well. Connor Long says, "Hey, Boy Green, are you in England?" No. As a matter of fact, here's a random story. I got my passport. I got it almost 10 years ago. Might be 10 years ago. I might only have a couple months left on the passport, to be honest with you. But I got it like 10 years ago. And the reason why I got it is because I applied to be on the show Survivor. And you have to have your passport crap ready. You don't know, you apply to get on the show Survivor, and then at some point maybe you hear back. So I had to be ready if they said, "Paul, you're on Survivor." I had to have the passport ready because obviously it takes a long time, for those who don't know, to get your passport all figured out. So anywho, so I've the crazy story is I have my passport and I can use it at any point, which is great. That's good to know that I have that in my back pocket. But I've never used it, not once, for anything. Like I've never gotten out of the country, so I had that passport for absolutely no reason. So that's sort of a Debbie Downer. It's sort of expensive, and then the last 10 years, which is great, but I didn't use it once. So long story short, Connor, that would be no. On am I in England? Yeah, that would be a no. That would be a no. So there you go. Dave Briggs said he just renewed his passport. Or, flipped the wrong comment here. Dave Briggs said, "Oh, Paul just renewed my passport." So I'm not sure if I'm going to or not. I haven't applied for Survivor in a year or two, maybe. But we'll see. But I appreciate that, Dave. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, let's answer some other comments here. Ace of Spade. Have I heard anything about Matthew Stafford being available? Would you take him over A-Rod? I would consider he's younger than A-Rod. let me see here. How would I put this? I think the Jets are either going to be in on Aaron Rodgers or not. And I know that's, hot take, Paul. Yeah, he's either going to be here or not. Like, if Aaron decides he's going, like, let me put it this way. If Aaron decides he's going to retire, okay, the Jets are forced to move on. They have no choice. But I don't think Aaron would say, all right, baby, I'm back. Jets say, nah, we're good. And then Aaron leaves, and then they go after Matthew Stafford. I don't know. For whatever reason, I don't see that. Now, I could see the Jets landing on the Matthew Stafford train if they wanted it. Aaron, we want you back, baby. And then he goes, I'm going to retire. And then the Jets go, oh, okay, fine, so be it. Blessed be he. We're going to go for Stafford. That's what I would say. To answer that, would I take him straight up over A-Rod? No, I don't think so. And maybe that's a horrible thing to say because Stafford had some really good ball last year. But there is a level of continuity, even though all the coaching staff and everybody's changing. We saw all the problems that Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson had trying to get on the same page. If you bring in a Matthew Stafford, it's the same damn thing. There's going to be an acclimation period. I think Matthew Stafford is very good at football. He's got a rocket launcher. He's got a massive arm. And again, look at the ball last year. Matthew Stafford was playing some elite football last year. But there is an acclimation period, and he's an older guy. And you got to rework his contract completely. He's got no more guaranteed money left, so you'd have to give him a brand new deal. And I would imagine Stafford ain't playing it year to year, so you'd be making a sizable investment in an older guy. And then obviously you have to give up draft assets to the Rams, and we just gave up draft assets for Rodgers. So there's just a lot of stuff going on there. So again, if the Jets want Aaron Rodgers and he retires, I could see them then going after Matthew Stafford. But I just can't see Aaron wanting to come back. The Jets tell him to pack it, and then they turn around and trade for Matt Stafford. That one's just hard for my brain to put around. But obviously there's some very light connective tissue because Matthew Stafford used to be in Detroit. Aaron Glenn and his Detroit boys. Beep, boop, bop. Now, it's a super light connection. It's not like AG and Matt Stafford were hanging out there in Detroit. So take that for what you will. Connor Long. So I saw Connor talking Zach Wilson in the chat, and I thought that this is like a fake Connor Long because there's sometimes we have fake accounts of other people, but I believe this is legitimate. I believe this is really Connor Long, I would assume. And he says, any thoughts on bringing back Zach Wilson as a four-stringer, even try it with the new coaching staff? Any thoughts on the idea? Again, I will assume, Connor, that this is your real account. If it's not, you can tell me separately. I'm trying to think of a really good example of something of the past. Long story short, any thoughts on bringing him back? Any thoughts on that idea? That idea is going to be hard. Now, I guess the example is coaching, right? So, Vance Joseph at one time was the head coach of the Denver Broncos. It didn't work out. He leaves. He goes somewhere else. And then he came back later. He's their defensive coordinator. So, same roof, same location. At one point, he was here, and now he's here. So, it's possible. Zach Wilson at one point was the quote-unquote savior of the New York Jets franchise. Number 2 overall pick. All the hoopla that went in. It obviously did not work here. He goes to Denver. He couldn't beat out and get the backup job. And he will be a street free agent, so I guess that's the point, and the Darren Muji connection. We don't know what Darren... Did Darren Muji pound the table? We got to kick the tires on Zach Wilson. Or is that just a Sean Payton project? We don't know. We don't know, and that's the intriguing part of this offseason, I suppose. We don't know the things that went right with Denver and wrong with Denver and where Darren Muji stood on each of those issues. Trading for Russell Wilson, was he for or against? Grabbing Zach Wilson, was he for or against? Bo Nix, was he for or against? And then go through everything. Trading for JFM. All of it. Again, you get Quinn Myers, some of the mid-round selections. Where was his hand in that as an assistant GM? He did a lot of things with salary cap and draft and scouting and this or that. There's a lot of things. Zach Wilson has talent. There's no question. Obviously, the talent didn't change from when the Jets drafted him to now. There is talent there. But because of the past demons that exist with Zach Wilson in a Jets uniform, I don't know if that's something he can ever get over. To me, I think Zach Wilson's best chance is to sign with a Kevin O'Connell, try to pull a Sam Darnold, go to a Kevin O'Connell, and just learn from a really good, do Sam Darnold, right? So he's with the Jets, and we had middling success. He goes to Carolina, middling success, mostly failure. Then he goes on a tour to San Francisco where he's clearly the backup, although he competed. And then he just learned from all these smart people. And then when he finally got his chance in Minnesota, he got it and he ran with it. I think that's what Zach should do. Again, he was with Sean Payton, who's a brilliant offensive mind, a Super Bowl champion, hopefully learned a lot. Go to another place if I were him. Like I said, I think about the Vikings. Daniel Jones a free agent over there. Sam Darnold's a free agent. You got J.J. McCarthy. What's the long-term backup situation? Learn from Kevin O'Connell. If I'm Zach Wilson, I'll probably sign with the Vikings this offseason if they're interested. Or maybe the 49ers behind Purdy. That's probably where I'm going if I'm Zach Wilson and see if that helps. Obviously, Zach Wilson's got the connection to Steve Young at BYU, which could give him the connection to San Francisco. Hey, you should take a shot on this kid. And reportedly in that draft, the two teams that wanted Zach Wilson beyond the Jets really badly were the Philadelphia Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers. Both of those teams were interested. Now, the Eagles have Kenny Pickett. I don't know how much longer he's under contract. And then the 49ers I just talked about. So that could be possible. But no, because the Jets drafted him number 2 overall, because he already has this thing with the fan base, as soon as he does anything silly in a preseason game, because he'd get a lot of preseason game action, being this 3rd, 4th string that you're talking about, the boos and everything, man, I don't know for his mental psyche if that would be best for Zach Wilson. But interesting. I thought you were hacked when that happened. I don't know where the Zach take was coming from. Dave Briga says, I don't see Rodgers accepting all the stipulations to stay here. And there would be a lot of them. Obviously, we talked about the pay cut thing. He said he's open to it. You'd have to readjust the contract. So that's on the list of the contractual stuff. That AG says no players above the team. And you can say that, but he's Aaron Rodgers. So we have to be real. Aaron's not going to come in here, just crack a whip, and everyone is just under his thumb. Maybe that's what happens, Bill Parcellsian style. But obviously there's a lot to Aaron, and you either have to accept that there's going to be a lot to Aaron or you don't accept. So maybe he tells him no more Pat McAfee. I don't think Aaron would take that very well. If Aaron Glenn told him, hey, cut the McAfee shit, I don't think Aaron would be very receptive to that. He doesn't like being told what to do from that perspective of his off-the-field interest. I'm sure Aaron would say, I spend plenty of time studying tape, film, this and this. I can do whatever I want outside of the facilities. And again, maybe that's a rub. So maybe to your point, Dave, maybe Aaron's not willing to do some of that extracurricular stuff. And then to fit the mold, a new regime coming in, learning a new offense. There's a lot of stipulations that would have to exist for Aaron to come back. There's no question. Taylor Sterling says, Zach never got his year behind Aaron. We could just piss everybody off. I will just say this. I did not have on my bingo card on February 8th talking about Zach Wilson and the Jets, but here we are. I would just say the Jets have no one to blame but themselves in the Aaron Rodgers year. Again, I tried to sell myself that Zach Wilson can be our Kurt Warner and Trent Green gets hurt and we rally around Zach Wilson and we have this magical year, even though it was supposed to happen with Aaron. Like 2015, right? Oh, Geno Smith's our guy. Oh, wait, he gets sucker punch. Up, I guess it's Ryan Fitzpatrick. Oh, magical run that we didn't know was going to happen. I tried to sell myself on Zach, but if the Jets were truly committed, Zach, you need a full reset year. You need to sit behind Aaron. The moment Aaron was hurt, and maybe, quite frankly, even before that, they should have had another backup quarterback plan ready so Zach could be cryogenically frozen. Being a backup, we all know you're only one injury from getting on the field. If they really wanted him to be cryogenically frozen, they should have gotten a guy. So it's very weird that they said, Zach needs to take a vacation. He needs to get away from football and just be a backup. And then the moment Aaron gets hurt, they're like, I guess he's ready for the show. We're like, what? Huh? What? How did that happen? How did that happen so quickly? That is... Again, that's odd. Ricky New York Live. If we had any quarterback, I'd be good with Justin Fields or Jameis Winston. But the question is, would either of them or any be good to become a third stringer behind Aaron? And let me put it this way. I think there is zero chance Fields or Jameis. I think there's zero chance the Jets chase those guys or that they would sign based on that scenario, Ricky New York Live, where it'd be Aaron Rodgers, Tyrod Taylor, and one of those two. To me, I think that's unrealistic. Now, if Aaron doesn't come back, the Justin Fields, Jameis Winston conversations come up. There's no way either of those guys come as a QB3. No chance. I think the construct of what you say, Ricky, if it's Aaron, Tyrod, and then who the hell is QB3, that's a rookie to me. 100% a rookie. And that makes the most sense. Let them learn from the room. Maybe that's Jordan Travis. Maybe your boy is healthy and he seizes the job. Maybe it's just a random rookie in this class. Who knows? But yeah, I don't think there's any chance of a Justin Fields, Jameis Winston thing unless Aaron is gone, which is possible. It's legitimately possible. I can see a path that Aaron Rodgers is not the quarterback for the Jets this year. I could totally see that. Yeah, we got 400 people in the room. Like the video, hit subscribe. Kind of long. What about Sam Darnold? This is going to be another one where is Sam open to it? I heard Gary V, who apparently knows Sam Darnold very well, say on the Jake Asman show. Again, shout out to Jake. He killed it this week at Super Bowl Radio Road. So many awesome interviews. I'm still catching up on a few. But he had Gary V on, and Gary V knows Sam well. And he says, I don't know for sure. I haven't talked to Sam about returning to the Jets or anything. But he says he does not think it's just a hard no, and he would never consider it. He thinks that, if he's a free agent and the Jets throw him a contract, he's going to evaluate it and think about it. So that's what he thinks. My gut would say it's sort of in the same way we talked about Zach Wilson, although Sam Darnold obviously had a lot more success than Zach Wilson did. He probably, if he has options, and I would imagine he does, despite how the season ended, why would he pick the Jets? That I don't know. I'd be open to it if he wants to come back and no Aaron Rodgers. Okay, Sammy, let's talk. There'd be nothing more than the dust off the Sam Darnold jerseys. I got a Sam. I think I've told this probably, but in front of, so I'm in my little man cave recording studio. In front of me, and then you go left from my vision point is a hallway. And I have a massive Jets hat collection. It goes from ceiling to floor. And then in the middle of the hat collection on the wall, smack dab on the wall, is a Sam Darnold fat head. Yeah. Yeah, I believed enough in Sam Darnold to have a Sam Darnold fat head. And then, once he's gone, what am I supposed to do? Just throw this away? So, no, Sam Darnold just moved. He moved out of the spotlight. He was probably in the man cave, TV living room area before. And then as Sam Darnold left the team, boo, he just kept moving in my house. He kept ghost moving in the house. And then behind these, because of my name immediately popping up, right behind Connor Long's face and name here, there's two books, the Aaron Rodgers book and then Tom Moore, which are great. Those great. But behind those two books is an autographed Sam Darnold draft hat. As soon as he got off the stage for his 2018 draft, he signed a hat, and NFL, their official NFL Instagram, gave it away. And I won that contest because I'm a lucky bastard. And I have that behind this glass. And I would never just ditch that. I'm Sam Darnold's not on the team. I'm keeping it because it's a cool memento to have forever, regardless of whatever Sam Darnold did. So I still have that as well. So yeah, long story short, I'd love Sammy back if he'd be open to it. If Aaron Rodgers is gone, obviously, that's the prerequisite. But I'm not sure if Sammy would want us. But Sam's going to make... So the franchise tag's like $40 million. So there's that on the table. I think if Sam hit the open market, he'd get $45 million, maybe $50 million. I think it's going to be a lot of scratch, man. I'll conservatively say $45 million plus in a multi-year deal because quarterbacks are scarce and you hit free agency. I think he's going to get a crazy bag, an absolute crazy bag. Dave Brigger also mentions the immaturity with Zach Wilson. Absolutely. Has he grown from that? I don't know. Connor Long's like, or get the rookie that sat behind Darnold from the Vikings, J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy, yeah, that is J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. That's right. Austrian Jetfan says, hey, in 3 years, Zach Wilson will shock the world. Jimmy Jet says, Connor's definitely off his rocker. Connor, I'm going to be honest. I think that's a fake account. There's no way these are your takes. And I'm not trying to be insulting, but... yeah, I think that this is a fake account. June the GM says he's at work, but he's listening. I appreciate that. So thank you. Yeah, this has to be a fake Connor account. Yeah, my gut says this is fake. Let's go to Twitter. Borderless Logistics. Do we see Winston as a realistic option? Yeah, Jake was at Radio Row during one of his shows, and Winston's passing through. Now, Radio Row people, I've never been there myself. I've just heard stories of people being there. It's craziness. There's celebrities walking around all over the place, especially on location. If you're in Vegas or New Orleans or wherever you're at, it depends. But Jameis Winston's walking. Jake takes off his mic and goes, "Hey, Jameis, would you want to come to the Jets?" Basically, and I think I heard him say, "Yeah, man." And then they did like a jet thing. So, yeah, I think Jameis is realistic. Again, if Aaron doesn't come back. If Aaron comes back, it's not realistic because you have Tyrod Taylor already under contract. So, no, I don't think he would come otherwise. Let me keep answering your guys' question. Taylor Strong says Zach should not have started that year. Again, the Jets could have even made a pivot. Even after they effed up and they didn't get a backup quarterback like at the offseason part of that season, they should have then. So Aaron gets hurt. Zach plays the game because you have to. You have no other choice in the middle of the game. And then after the game, you should have immediately been like, all right, let's start bringing in quarterback workouts. Hey, Carson Wentz, who, by the way, was a free agent at the time. Matt Ryan, do you want to come out of retirement? Like, they should have had all of those serious conversations, evaluated whoever the best backup was, right then and there to evaluate, and they didn't. So, number one Austin Jet fan. Darnold did not like Snoop Dogg's Jets joke. And hey, again, Darnold's been classy AF. He's been classy as all hell when talking about the Jets. So I love that about him. He hasn't dunked on the Jets or anything. Taylor Sterling as Connor. What if we bring back Pennington or Bryce Petty? Pennington's one of my favorites. I would love Pennington. And he's a smart guy, too. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a fake Connor Long account. That's what my gut tells me. Alan's going to challenge me. Did BG say Sam's getting 45 to 50 million? No chance. If he gets the open market, 1,000%. He's going to be the best option. Your two best options on the free agent market, as it currently stands, are Russell Wilson and Sam Darnold. Russell Wilson's old, and the way his season ended, Sam Darnold's 27, man. Open market, 100%. I think that's what he gets. We'll see if I'm right. Maybe he never gets to market, so we never see. But I'm thinking he gets buco bucks. Buco bucks. The quarterback market is scarce. You're telling me the Raiders wouldn't go, the Giants wouldn't go, Let me go through. Let's just take a peek on the NFL standings here just so I can see. Let me see the teams that would be interested. Cleveland could be interested, but we'll see what happens there. So let me go Cleveland on my hand. Tennessee obviously could totally go after him. Raiders could totally go after him. Let me see. The Rams, this is a sneaky one. If the Rams move on from Matthew Stafford, Sammy going back to the West Coast to be under Sean McVay, definitely put that one on the list. Let's see who else could be in the mix here. New Orleans, if they move on for Derek Carr, that could be a name to watch. Who else am I missing here? The Vikings apparently want him back. I don't think it would be for the buco bucks I just said if he went back there. Yeah, there's 5-6 teams that could be in the mix for him potentially. Yeah, and that brings up the market. I'm not sure if bring out your dead. You might be saying my dad. He joins the show tomorrow. Hop on Pop will be a Super Bowl Sunday edition. Let's go. Yes, let's get a YouTube super chat in here on the show. Every time we get a super chat, we hear from my daughter, Zariah Luna. Wow. All right, number one, Austrian Jet fan. I put this on your list, by the way, for our giveaway at the end of the month, which, by the way, real quick, thank you for the super chat. He's asking my thoughts on Nick McKissick Luke, which is quite a name, by the way. But real quick, Austrian Jet fan is getting involved. This gets added to his total for our raffle tickets. We're giving away throughout this entire month a New York Jets signature football. It's a full size, gets shipped deflated, but it's amazing. You can put in your office, your man cave, limited edition. It's got Aaron Rodgers autograph on there, Garrett, Sauce. It's terrific. a Nike Salute to Service shirt, and a custom Jets laser engraving Boy Green package. So all 3 of those items will go to one lucky person that bought a raffle ticket. And how do you buy raffle tickets? You join the Boy Green Coffee Club. You can do that in the YouTube description down below. Join the Boy Green Coffee Club here, only $2.99 a month. Or you can gift Boy Green Coffee Club memberships, or you can super chat money in, just like number one Austin Jet fan. But just know every raffle ticket is $2.99 per. So if you send anything less than $2.99, I'm just going to add it to my list here. And once you reach the appropriate amount, I will translate that to raffle tickets. So again, every raffle ticket is $2.99 per. No limits. So you can buy as many raffle tickets as you like. Obviously, the more you have, the better your shot is. But you need at least one to get a chance to win those prizes. But we are also doing free giveaways for subscribers. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. We're going to be giving away an autographed piece of New York Jets memorabilia signed by 2 former New York Jets first-round picks. I'll mail that out to one lucky subscriber as soon as we reach 7,500 subs. We're trying to get to 10,000. So, long story short, let's get back to your question, number one Austin Jet fan. And thank you, everybody, for sending those in. I really appreciate it. I'm sort of in the same place as I was that I heard from Zach Rosenblatt yesterday. He's an interesting guy. This is the guy that Jets are reportedly leaning towards hiring as their new RB coach. Which is interesting. And hey, take this for what you will. On the Gophers website that has Nick McKissick-Luke's all his his bio, right? His bio has been removed from their website. So that would indicate that the Jets job hiring is real. He was hired in January of 2023, and Minnesota had a pretty good running back as well this past season. Here's some more from 24/7 Sports. PJ Fleck and Minnesota's football coaching staff has some people leaving his staff. He can confirm this 24/7 Sports source, which was Ryan Burns, confirmed that Nick McKissick-Luke has accepted a coaching staff position on the New York Jets. That was as a running backs coach. He was Minnesota's running back coach for the last 2 seasons. His star player was Darius Taylor, and while McKissick-Luke was the one who recruited Taylor in Minnesota, that was Kent State head coach Kenny Burns. The relationship between Taylor and running back was hugely important to the Michigan native, and there was an NIL deal. He seemed to have a really good season and went kind of crazy. So he's an interesting guy. To me, the good news is that the Jets obviously have really good running backs already, number one Austin Jet fan. So it's not as much as getting the talent out of the guys. It's sort of maximizing the talent they already have. So he's interesting. It's a college hire. I love that. Aaron Glenn's sort of been all over the place. He's gotten veterans like Steve Wilkes, who's been around forever. He's gone young NFL offensive guy and Tanner Engstrand, and now he's going to the college ranks. I sort of love the variety in the diet, to be honest with you, as it pertains to some of these names. So that to me is really interesting. So yeah. I love the youth. It's kind of a dart throw to me, especially at the college ranks. But beyond that, I don't know a lot about the guy. So yeah. Have Mo 63 said fake Connor got us to talk for Zach for half an hour. Yeah, good times. Yeah, I am like 1,000% sure that guy was fake. Because I think I remember Connor Long's YouTube, and it's something different. I don't think that's his thing. But how did that just happen? How did we fall for that? That's weird. Alan says Fields is going back to the Steelers. That could be. Yeah, I think they sort of came out and said they might be bringing in bringing back Russell Wilson or Fields. I would assume Fields. I made it. I'm in Orlando. What's good, Coffee Club? Shout out to Terrence Hill, one of our favorite, one of our OG listeners, baby. And look at that Jimmy Jets, baby, gifting a 5-pack of Boy Green Coffee Club memberships. Let's go.
Here's what I do know. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Sure are, Aaron Glenn. We sure are. Let's read those 5 new members to the Boy Green Coffee Club, baby. And again, that is 5 raffle tickets for our boy Jimmy Jets here on the show for a wonderful giveaway, which you love to bleep and see. Here are the 5 new members to the Boy Green Coffee Club. Pastor Carlos Reyes, Matthew Smith, Garrett, not Wilson, or Miles Garrett. It doesn't appear. Brian Nicholas, and NY Jets FL. Hey, some celebrity happening there. Jimmy Jets with a 5-pack, baby, of Boy Green Coffee Club memberships. You love to bleep and see it. Let me put it on our list here. Beautiful. Very, very nice So shout out to our boy right there. Shout out to our boy Jimmy Jets. Ready? Let's flip the banner. I'm going to have to update the banner too. But here, let me show you a not accurate banner based on the latest information. We got to put Jimmy Jets now on this list. He's going to be in a tie with DNY for life and Ed Vargas with 5 gifted memberships so far this month. So appreciate it. We'll add that here to the total. Let me do that right now for you. Let me do that with DNY for life, Ed Vargas, and now Jimmy Jets joining the group. I love it. Beautiful. I love. Thanks for all the support, everybody. That is terrific. Thank you. And here we go. Now it's fixed. Thank you to Jimmy Jet for the 5 gifted memberships here on the Blapin channel, baby. BG, have you talked about the Jets ghosting Devontae? If that happens, his GB buddies will join him on the unemployment line. I've not talked about it yet. I think it actually might come up on the show tomorrow with my pop. We've got a interesting Devontae Adams topic that we'll bring up, but I'll address it. Yeah, NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport shared a few days ago that apparently since Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn were hired, they haven't talked to Devontae Adams. A lot of people freaked out like, oh, geez, what does this mean? And to me, I think it's much ado about nothing, to be honest with you. First off, they've only been hired like a week. And in their week, they've been putting together their front office staff hirings, firings, and also their coaching staff hirings, firings. So they haven't had a lot of free time. And to be honest, to me, the Devontae thing is relatively simple. I'm probably oversimplifying it saying this, but if Aaron's back, Devontae's back. If Aaron's gone, Devontae's gone. So quite frankly, I'm not talking to Devontae until Aaron tells me what's up. That's it. Again, there's a lot of people out in the audience who would love Devontae back no matter what, but my gut says because Devontae holds the cards, he has the contract. The Jets need him to restructure for anything to work. He needs to restructure. And if he tells the Jets to blow me, then there's nothing the Jets can do. They will be forced to cut Devontae Adams so he can pick his spot. So, no, we haven't talked a lot about it on the show. Again, we'll talk about it more tomorrow. That's currently the topic of choice. We got not this specifically, a different Devontae Adams topic, but I'm sure this would have come up. I'm sure there'd be a long line of teams that'd be interested in kicking the tires on Devontae. He's a very talented player, and he finished the season very strong. But to me, I don't make much of the Jets on talking to him yet. They need Aaron Rodgers' decision one way or the other, which should push and tilt their way for Aaron. Because if Aaron's taking a pay cut coming back, Devontae's restructuring his contract to make it all work. That's my honest assessment there of where that is. Dave Briga here. Did Chris Harris, come in as DB coach? I believe it's DB coach. I'm defensive backs coach and secondary coach. It's a multi-job effort there from Chris Harris. That's not officially on their roster website, their coaching staff. I have not seen that yet. The Jets haven't hired a tight ends coach, right? That will be a daunting task. Yeah, well, from scratch, I guess that's true. I would say intriguing because, like, this room is getting blown the hell up, baby. It's getting blown the hell up. Maybe Tyler comes back as a tight end 2 on a reasonable deal. But with Tyler Conklin's production, and again, I use production loosely because, like, Brock Bowers, that's tight end production. But Tyler Conklin's production is better than we've seen a lot from Jets land. I would love him back as a tight end too if he's open to it because I love the person and his family and everything else. That'd be great. I'm not so sure if it happens, but I would like it. But he can't be tight end 1. There's just not enough juice there. Yeah. Colin says this is not a fake account. I'm just in Germany, so he has to use a different account, I guess. That might be true. I don't know. But I thought he was in England. Anywho, I can't keep track. Hey, look at this. Jimmy Jets with another 5-pack of Boy Green Coffee Club memberships. It's starting to rain on this show. Oh, yeah, baby. Let's get this. All right, Jimmy Jets has surged into second place in our raffle contest this month. We've got number 1 Austrian Jet fan with 60 memberships, and Jimmy Jets now at 10 memberships gifted so far this month. Let's read the 10 new members to the Boy Green Coffee Club, baby. That is going to, let's allow this to flip. Okay, do we have this here? Let me make sure I got it. Yes, we've got Nanga Iboko, Ricky New York Live, Mike Rubino, Three Siblings, Swamp Rancher. Look at all these big wigs in Boy Green Coffee Club land getting a membership. Guys, make sure you hit the re-sign button, baby, at the end of make sure you guys obviously get a free month trial of Boy Green Daily. But if you enjoy it, it's only $2.99 a month. At the end of the month, you'll get an email that says, "Hey, would you like to continue being a Boy Green Coffee Club member?" And all you have to do is say yes. Yes, I would. It's only $2.99 a month, so pay it forward, baby. Let's spread the gospel of all things Boy Green Gosh Darn Daily. That would be absolutely terrific. So yes, let's make that happen. Beautiful. Absolutely. So shout out to Jimmy Jets here. You love to friggin' see it. So Jimmy Jets, like I said, has surged into second place. Very nice by Jimmy Jets here. He wants some action from the contest, that's for sure, and I can't blame him. It's going to be terrific. We got a great prize pack here. So put the updated 10 here on the banner for second place. And then for Lillian Big D drops to third place, but still absolutely wonderful. For everyone that has been getting involved in this. And MFC and Tiff are now in fifth place. Was able to edit all that. There we go, baby. Shout out to Jimmy Jets for the 5-pack of Boy Green Coffee Club memberships. Jimmy Jets is running wild. You love to see it. Yeah, Connor Long is, yes, too young for the German Bruce Geist. He's going international. I love it. Yeah, this is definitely just the way Connor's talking. This is definitely a fake account. We need to. Yeah, this is definitely a fake Connor account. Yeah, I'm not buying this. Anywho, it's sort of weird. All right, let's end with some weird. Alan says BG is Autry on the hot seat. How about those Johnnies? Will be top 10 at beginning of week. You know, when Jim Boeheim retired, this is a random Syracuse topic. Yeah, call in, Connor. If you're real, call in. Yeah, people are saying that's not Connor. I just scanned his account. Fake. Okay, I thought so. So the fake, well, here, let's pour one out. We'll forever remember the show, everybody. February 8th, fake Connor got us to talk about Zach Wilson. So I should have known at that very moment that was fake. But anywho, yeah, come on, German Connor or Russian Connor or whatever Connor you are. But Alan, BG is Autry on the hot seat. So when Jim Boeheim stepped away, which, by the way, just real quick on the fake Connor thing, like that someone would fake a 13-year-old's YouTube is really bizarre, and you should get help. Whoever did that, that's incredibly weird, man. That's very weird. But Connor should take it as a token of respect. You know, you have to get pretty big for people to start faking who you are. So someone said it's Austrian Connor. That's funny. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, anywho, I keep getting distracted like a raccoon with a shiny object. When Jim Boeheim stepped away, Syracuse basketball, random local topic here. When Jim Boeheim stepped away, I wanted Syracuse to do a real search. Like, let's start turning over stones, interviewing people, and they didn't. They promoted from within. That's Coach Red Autry. And I was disappointed because I said, man, I would have really liked them to look at names. And one name I floated out there was, Rick Pitino, because he's a former Syracuse assistant and the Jim Boeheim relationship. And yeah, and they didn't. And now look at him and look at that. So yeah, Autry's 100% on the hot seat. Long story short. For sure. Is there a fake Boy Green account out there? There is 100% fake Boy Greens. Luckily, they've sort of died down. I had multiple. There's a few that would just say weird things. Like they'd be like weird fake Boy Green accounts. Connor says he's trying to call in. Maybe my call-in link isn't working. That would explain why no one has called in today. All right, I'll try it one more time because maybe I had the wrong one. Let me try this again. I will remove this message and I will try it again. So let me go. Maybe this will be a real Connor. My gut says no. Okay, I just put in the call-in link. I'm pinning it to the top. We'll see if we get some sort of an unusual Connor here. I'm not sure if I even want this fake Connor to be on, but in here, yeah, there's long, there's a fake Boy Green accounts out there, and the fake Boy Green accounts do all kinds of weird stuff. Like they're just saying inappropriate things and all kinds of weird stuff. So, oh yeah, there's fake Boy Green accounts out there that they ask. Yeah. I'll just stop there. Yeah, fake Connor hit the StreamYard link, you coward. You bastard. Yeah, this has been, Jimmy Jet said this has been an interesting show. Start off with Ryan Wilson and apparently glitch to all hell. And then we've had all these other random questions. And then Taylor Sterling says, my heart's beating fast. What's going to happen? I'm waiting here right now. As soon as someone, quote unquote, calls in, they appear in the green room. So as we're waiting, why don't we do this? Your heart's beating fast, Taylor Sterling? Well, let's make your heart beat faster. Connor Long, NY Flight Jets talk, reportedly, quote unquote, is in like Russia or Europe or something, visiting family, quote unquote. Fake Connor, there is an updated link up there. Doesn't seem like you're trying to call in. Yeah, we'll see. And nothing. So sorry, Connor. You fake Connor. You blew your chance. It's a comment pinned up there. Fake Connor's not trying to call in. Yeah, that is confirmed. But yeah, someone's talking about the tough show with all the pauses during the interview. Yeah, I have no idea. The show was freezing, John B says. Yeah, I'm going to try to fix that after. And again, for people who'd like to see it in full flower without any of the interruptions, I imagine that was super annoying. I'm going to try to, after our show ends, I'll try to fix it and edit it and see if we could get the original version without all the breakups and see if we can, I'll see if I can fix that in post. And then if so, I'll upload that separately to YouTube. So yeah, that would be wonderful. So we'll see if we can do that. Well, shout out to the 500 people in the room. Like the video, subscribe. Again, I want to apologize again. It was wonderful to be joined on the show by a wonderful co-host of Rick Spielman on the With the First Pick podcast, Ryan Wilson, joining us on the show. So I want to give a shout out to Ryan for taking the time, and sorry to everybody for the difficulties of that interview. Like I said, I'm going to attempt to fix it and see what happens. Fake Connor never called in, and I will confirm immediately after the show. I'm going to text Connor. I got his number. He's got my number, or I'll tweet, DM him, whatever, and I will confirm. But I'm pretty sure there's bullshit, Connor. I'm going to be honest. Excuse my Guatemalan. We'll find out. But everybody, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the show. I did not get a text. So, that would have also been a thing. Like a text, Connor could have texted me on this little wristwatch thing. He could have immediately said, yeah, Paul, it's real. But he hasn't. By the way, number one Austrian Jet fan with a super sticker, baby. Oh, yeah. Let me see. I got to get a better sound for a super sticker. Maybe just a jet chat, maybe. Thank you to one Austrian Jet fan. Along with your $2 earlier, you now have another membership, baby. That is 61 gifted memberships so far this month, which, of course, is 61 raffle tickets to our contest. So let's update that leaderboard, baby. Beautiful work. Super sticker in the books, baby. Number one Austrian Jet fan is seeking the bag. We'll see if we can deliver that bag. Beautiful. So God bless. So yeah, like I said, everybody, thank you to the super sticker for number one Austrian Jet fan. But yes, everybody who wanted to see the Ryan Wilson interview, but it was struggling due to issues, I'm going to attempt to fix it and see if we can re-upload it in a fixed version, and you guys will be able to find that out. Find that interview, on the YouTube video page. So I'll work on that after the show. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow morning. We got Hop on Pop, Super Bowl Sunday, and it looks like a fun Devontae topic. So it should be a real hoot. I can't wait. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you. God bless. And we'll take care. All right. Fake Connor. I'm from Long Island. I'm unable to call in. I'm having phone issues here in Germany. Sure.